Let's go. Somehow, I woke up in my apartment. It didn't trigger any emotions at all yet. Another day of my life. That's all. I got out of bed and went to my computer. A message window flashed upon the taskbar. I sat down and stared at the monitor. Somebody wrote to me. And that means somebody still needs me. The message contained only 2 words. Wake up. Joe Biden. Wake up.
Mm-hmm.
What do they want from me? An unknown ID? Is that spam? And what does it mean? Wake up. I'm not sleeping anymore. The window still kept flashing. I tried to close it but failed. Instead, yet another one popped up. And another one, and another one. All of them contain the same. Wake up. What the hell do you want from me? I screamed. Soon the whole screen was blazing with identical messages. I couldn't bear it anymore. I grabbed it, smashed it against the wall with all my strength. A phone rang. Strange, who could that be? I picked up the phone and heard, "Wake up!" And on the other end, thousands of voices, men, women, children, were screaming. Wake up! I smashed the phone on the floor, but it didn't break and it kept ringing. In a moment, the whole room was filled with strangers. They were grabbing my hands, peering into my eyes, and screaming. Wake up! I jumped off my bed in a cold sweat. Huh? What a dream. I came to my senses in a couple of minutes, took a look at the clock. It's 5 p.m. How long have I slept? All the events of yesterday flew through my head. Searching for Lena, the devastating conversation, Alyssa defeated. I really have to talk to her. Maybe she cooled down overnight. I dressed up, went out of the cabin, hesitated a little while gathering my thoughts, and then headed to Lena's cabin. What shall I say? How do I begin the conversation? I can't just go with, "Hi, how are you?" Or just passing by. There's no way I should lecture her straight off the bat. Not reaching a specific solution, I knocked. Nobody answered. I knocked again, then pulled the doorknob. It's not locked. That's odd. Mother, there was nobody inside. Well, that means Lena's not here. I'll grab some food. I might find her in the canteen. Going along the rows of cabins, I didn't meet a single pioneer. That's odd too. It's always crowded here by this time of day. Nobody was at the square either. Coming up to the canteen, I started to get serious concern. It's time for dinner, but there was no sign of hungry pioneer crowds. If only it was just that. The canteen was closed. Looks like something has happened during the day. I sat down on the porch and stared to consider the situation. Started to consider the situation. All the pioneers were gone. Without any warning. Well, of course it's hard to say that this camp or my way of arriving here is normal, but I hadn't encountered any completely inexplicable stuff during this week yet. There's a lot of strange things, but maybe they're hiding in that bunker. I chuckled aloud. While all this very, to put it mildly, mysterious, I was nowhere near experiencing a panic attack.
No, it's just that they have left.
I almost jumped out of my skin. Lena was standing next to me. You? You? You can't just sneak up on people like that. You nearly gave me a heart attack.
Sorry.
She said calmly. Now her words dawned on me. Left. Oh, hold on a sec. What do you mean, just left?
The session's over.
And the camp leader?
She had some business to take care of in the town, so she went with them.
Okay, and what about you?
I stayed.
Lena was talking with complete calmness, as if everything that has happened is completely normal and routine. How? Why is that?
What's the problem? When the session is over, the children depart for their homes, don't they?
And when was it decided today was the last day of session?
You won't believe this, but on the very first day. Moreover, Olga announced this at the lineup.
Yeah. Even at those lineups I attended, the last thing that crossed my mind was listening to the camp leader's announcements. Then why didn't anyone tell me anything. I've waited for a chance to get out of this damn camp for so long, and when it finally appeared, I obviously slept through it. Well, that's exactly my style.
I asked them not to.
Even if you would ask not to, Olga. Hold on. What? Yeah, this is getting extremely odd.
This is odd, yeah. This is really odd. Yeah.
As the last episode was called Lena Time, I might name this one Lena Time too.
Yep. I asked for it.
Said Lena with the same confidence. And what, you asked them to leave me behind too?
Yes.
And don't you think that's all a little... absolutely wrong? Jesus Christ, stop exploding.
Yeah, calm down.
Stop volcanoing.
Yes.
Good lord. I started shouting.
Nope, it's perfectly normal.
I took a good look at Lena. Not a single emotion has crossed her face since the beginning of our talk. Almost like a conversation with me.
Yes.
Well, you would know this
Yeah.
generally, but I don't have emotions don't cross my face when I talk with people.
Oh, okay.
Half the time at least. It looks like the girl that's standing right in front of me now is not the kind of girl that's afraid of crickets, blushes at every occasion, and reads romance novels. Okay, I got it. I'm running out of liquid in this. I think I am. Looks like the situation is directly connected to my mystical arrival at the camp. Just who are you?
Me? This morning I was Lena.
She replied patiently. Oh yeah, and I'm Optimus Prime, born 9 million years ago in the Highlands of Scotland. I wasn't afraid of her or anything. Around myself at this moment. I was just bursting with anger from within.
Nice to meet you. I'm Lena.
She's taking this in her stride. She's the most odd pioneer out of all of them.
And I thought Miku was weird.
Well, the Mika route's a whole different fucking kettle of fish. Miku route adds an extra fucking 4 hours of text.
Jesus.
Okay, now, let's get serious. I think what you're saying is frankly impossible. Today, as it turns out, is the last day. Somehow, I didn't know a thing about her, and the camp leader departs with everyone, leaving me behind just because you asked for it. This is not the weirdest thing you've seen all week.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Don't you find that somewhat all abnormal? No, I don't find this abnormal at all.
Oh.
Considering what you've seen this week.
Yeah. Maybe I do.
Are you hiding something?
Maybe I am.
Then spit out everything you've got.
I told you already.
I buried my face with my hands and took a deep breath. Okay, and what am I supposed to do in this situation?
I don't know.
And what are you going to do?
I don't know. I'll go with the flow.
Well, here's the flow. I hissed abruptly, spreading my hands.
And why are you worrying so much?
For the first time, a flicker of interest has appeared on her face. And how do you expect me to feel? Glad?
Well, not really, but you yourself wanted it.
Me? You're mad.
And who said yesterday that he cares and that he wants to be with me?
What's that got to do with this?
That's so dense. Oh my god.
This man is so fucking dense.
I know.
Even I wasn't this fucking dense
Jeez.
when I was fucking oblivious to people being flirty. I pretend not to understand, but finally starting to dawn what she was driving at.
Your wish was granted.
Yeah, sure. Jesus Christ, my dude. I mumbled under my breath. Yeah, oh. Well, here I am with you. That doesn't explain in any way what happened.
There's always a couple of tricks that could help one succeed.
And you? That is how?
Yes.
A smile crossed her face. She is genuine. I think she might be genuinely happy that she has time with this man.
Yes. I can see it. I can see it so much.
I can see a bit of myself in her.
Yeah.
If I'd known you were so cunning from the very beginning. To tell the truth, I kind of like this whole situation. Well, not really liked, but I was curious. Of course, I'm very sorry that I couldn't have escaped with everyone else. However, I'm having a hey. I don't speak Japanese. Well, French. I don't speak French.
I'll try this one. That.
And just say talk with Lena now. I have no idea what that shit means.
That means a chat.
Yeah, you know French?
Not really. It's just I've seen that term a couple times. So I kind of just picked up the meaning from like the context it was used.
That might mean I'll get a chance to see the real her. And all the answers that I was longing for could be right here, and not in some mysterious town which everyone else had headed for. Okay, so what are we going to do now?
We?
She smiled. Yeah, she has the same elation I do at this point. Although my elation is very much real compared to this.
Yeah.
How are you? How is it with you right now on that front? If you're still looking, that is.
Uh, I have to step back because I have so much shit to fix.
So you're basically doing a bit of a personal fucking fixing before going back to that stuff.
Oh yeah, 'cause um, whatever boys I've been in close contact with are staying single because they have their own shit to fix.
So it's regular old problems on problems with other people and problems in general for others.
Yeah,
You have your
and
own problems, other people have their own, and well, there's been a situation recently with you that, well,
yeah,
exists.
and then there's the other guy that is going really freaking fast, but I don't know if that's real safe to go forward.
Fast. I did not know about a man going extremely fast at this point.
Well,
You
I'll explain
have
that one later.
explain that after we finish this.
Yes.
Let's get back to
Yeah.
this though. Yeah, we're the only ones staying here. The canteen's closed, and I seriously doubt there's any food left anyway. Of course, Olga should return in the foreseeable future, but
What does it matter?
okay, it doesn't matter. I do, in fact, need to put new liquid in this tank.
Yep.
Any suggestions?
What do you want?
She asked with a sly smile. I would have grabbed something to eat. And then I don't know.
Well, let's go and have something.
Where to?
There should be some food left in my cabin.
Okay, deal. Oh, this shit needs charging. We went in and Lena rummaged around in her desk drawer.
Well, there are cookies. Want some?
She handed me a half-open pack of biscuits. Ah, how cute. I sneered.
Why?
Biscuits. Like in my childhood.
I guess.
She smiled and sat next to me. I love how they emphasize the sitting next to with the movement of the sprite
Yeah.
closer to the screen.
The zooming in. The zooming in, yeah.
The
So
zoom.
simple but effective.
Well, I asked with my mouth full. Yep, very smart idea there, my guy. Smart idea.
What?
So, what are we going to do?
I don't know.
She wistfully gazed out the window.
But what do you want?
But really, what do I want? A mere half hour ago, I only thought my only thought was to get away from this damn camp. But right now, right here next to her, something seemed to change. Well, I don't know either.
Think harder.
Think hard. Yes, I like her idea. Just think harder.
Yes.
She drew herself closer and gazed into my eyes. Well, you know, my face was blushing and my mind was racing. Not just because I was in such an extreme proximity to a girl that quite clearly wants something from me, but mainly because that girl was Lena.
Well,
She studied me closely. Lena, I
what?
to say that she didn't look like herself was nothing. I was not afraid of this metamorphosis, or rather, I was afraid of myself. What I could do in such situation. I oh, this man is grasping.
Didn't you want to be with me?
She whispered into my ear seductively. She is going all out.
Yep.
I did. I mean, I do.
Then what's the problem?
You know, it's also what, my guy. Besides, I have some other circumstances.
What circumstances?
She pulled away from me,
Uh-oh.
angry. Well, various circumstances.
You don't prefer... Do you?
Lena laughed. Hell no. How could you think that? Looks like I blushed even harder.
Then what's the problem?
Are you sure that you want that? I tried hard to change the subject. After all, just a week ago, I had my own normal life. A life where everything was strictly tied up, well organized, and where there was no place for girls. Well, there was place for girls in that life, just very specific niche of girl.
Yes.
And now, in some kind of mysterious camp with Lena sitting next to me, hinting towards something. You should just go with exactly what is being said, my guy.
Yes, it's gonna be easier.
How should I behave in such a situation? Just go along with it.
Yes.
This
Yes.
man, not this man does not know anything. She frowned.
Of course I do. What's the problem?
Well, it's my. I was behaving like I wasn't even serious. Well, English, I can reading. I was behaving like I wasn't even 17, which is how I looked. as if I was even younger.
Mine too.
She smiled. I had to decide what to do next now, after the session was closed and all the pioneers were gone. I had to seek answers. Above all, I just had to beware of this girl that could change her behavior and even her character so easily at will. But at the exact moment, I was possessed by only one thought. Oh, what the hell? Well, if you don't mind. I closed my eyes. She said nothing, just smiled and moved even closer. Our lips locked in a long kiss. I forgot everything at that moment. I forgot about this weird camp, local pioneers that were in fact gone. I forgot about our wacky camp leader. I forgot about my past life, about my future, if it would ever come. Right now, the only one who mattered was Lena. Her soft lips, her warmth that poured deep into my soul, burning me from the inside. I gently moved her aside. Hold on. Don't you think that this is way too easy to... Or that this is way too fast?
Why?
She smiled and looked at me in such a way that I immediately felt ready to drown in her eyes. You've been eyeing this girl up the entire fucking week. My guy.
You're sure, aren't you?
I am. I whispered quietly. At that exact moment, I truly loved Lena. I wanted to hold her tighter and never let go. And she felt the same, of course. Time flashed by way too fast, and we became as one. When I woke up, it was already dark outside. I got out of bed, put on my trousers, and had a stroll around the room. What was that? Just an animal instinct, or maybe it was something more. No, it's all wrong, completely wrong. I'm stuck in this camp. I've lost my chance to get out of here. Most of all, I'm with a girl who probably has a split personality and manic depressive disorder. Well, you're not wrong there, my guy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're also not right in at this specific end.
It's the clarity, but also at the same time, you're not all. You don't have a horse in this race either.
I know the other ending for Lena. We've not hit the other ending, I believe. So I will not have to age restrict this video, hopefully.
Yeah.
I looked at the sleeping Lena. Anyhow, she's marvelous. Everything that happened between us literally only a couple hours ago flashed before my eyes and I felt shivers up my spine. Nah, I don't know if it's right or wrong. But if I could have returned back in time, I would have done exactly the same thing. I smiled widely and sat down next to her on the bed. I had absolutely no desires to wake Lena up. It was an unspeakable pleasure just watching how she sleeps. People say that sleep reveals the true face of a person. I heard a legend in some ancient civilization had a custom before getting married. Owen watches her fiancé sleeping for 3 nights, and then she decides whether to marry him or not. Bearing that in mind, I could confidently say Lena's face showed nothing but goodness, kindness, and childlike naivety. Could this really be the girl that knocked out Alyssa yesterday? Yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Yep.
Well, whatever it may be, everything's already happened. And I've already seen Lena like that. The humility for the first few days, the hysterics back on the island, then the rage at school yesterday, her passion today. How can one single human cope with so many opposing personality traits? I do. Although,
Yeah.
with me, most of my personality traits just push me forward to be a bit more happier.
Mine just pushed me to be more responsible.
I wish I was a tad more responsible, but if I was more responsible, I wouldn't. If I was more responsible early on in life, I wouldn't have met the people I've met so far.
Ah.
I wouldn't have gone on to the. I wouldn't have met the people who I met online back when I was back when I was back when I was dating females, which then wouldn't have pushed me to rethink my sexuality, which then wouldn't have pushed me to the Yowie server, which wouldn't have pushed me to talking to you.
Ah.
And I wouldn't have had to go through 2 years of therapy and self therapy. But in the end of all this, I don't know how I fucking feel about my own life.
Mine is, if I did go down the set path that I was supposed to go, I wouldn't have met you, or a few other people's, or be doing
Or
the things I
Pro,
do. Yeah.
you wouldn't have met Pro, which that the fact we both watched Pro, we both ended up talking about GTA from a server that wasn't even GTA focused.
Yes.
I ended up commissioning art from you. We ended up having some interesting chats early on,
Yes.
and it's led to this.
Yes.
And it's also led to you knowing my boyfriend.
Who I find a complete joy to talk to, even though he's a bit busy at times.
Yeah, man is always busy.
Oh, yeah.
He's either busy or, well, not so busy but asleep half the time.
Right, right.
Or having to deal with family.
That too.
It might be the case that she really has a double, triple, even quadruple split personality. I don't know how much time I spent just watching Lena sleeping. It might have been a couple minutes, might have been a couple hours. Finally, she awakened.
Good morning.
Lena smiled tenderly. Morning. It looks like fucking midnight out there.
Bruh. Come here.
She rose and hugged me. I didn't resist and plopped down on the bed.
You're so wonderful.
She whispered in my ear, kissing my neck. You too. But my voice hesitated.
Wanna do it again?
She asked playfully. Hold on. I moved her away gently. You know, all this is anything but simple. When we just met, you seemed to be one person. Then you seemed to be another. And today. And now I can't understand who you really are. And yet, again, what you did to Alyssa.
Her again.
Lena covered up with blanket and turned away.
Didn't you like what we did? Want to do it with her too? Now, I won't hold you back. Come on, compare us. I'll leave you her address. You can tell me who is better, or we can have a threesome.
She sounded like she wasn't talking. She sounded like she wasn't talking about me or her. Like she was talking about complete strangers. Oh, there you go again. I sighed. Throughout today, you should have realized the last person I would think about would be Alyssa.
Okay, you're right.
She turned to me, smiled, and hugged me tightly. This girl.
Yeah.
Oh, look. It's the flip of a fucking switch.
Yep.
Hold on. Hold on. I still have to understand.
Why?
I can't just simply. And yes, I do care. That's why I really need to know who you really are.
I'm just me.
She answered in the same languid voice. She is herself, like I am myself.
Yep.
And you are yourself.
As I am myself.
My brakes started to break from all these emotions. I have to calm down somehow. I jumped to my feet and moved across to sit on the opposite bed.
Fine.
Lena said disappointingly and started to get dressed. I'm not asking for much. Just a few answers to a few questions.
Later. It's time to depart.
She interrupted me impassively. What? Where are we going?
What do you mean, where? Back to town, of course.
But you told me.
Well, I might have withheld something. In fact, I persuaded Olga that we still had some extremely urgent matters here and will come later.
How would we get to town then?
By bus, of course.
There are no buses here. I grinned.
What do you mean, no buses? Of course there are. Route 410.
Route 410. I didn't know whether to believe it or not. The situation seemed to be going out of control, but I wouldn't argue. Okay, I managed cautiously.
Come on, get packed and meet me at the square in 10 minutes.
Okay, I gave up asking and left the cabin. Frankly speaking, I had almost nothing to pack. I tossed my winter clothes into a bag and headed to the square. Lena was already waiting for me, there with a gym bag on her shoulder. You don't seem to carry a lot of baggage.
It's just enough.
She smiled. Let me carry it.
Please do.
Although a bag seemed almost weightless, a bit of chivalry never hurt anyone. We were walking and Lena was Lena, we were walking and Lena was constantly telling jokes, anecdotes, funny stories, and never stopped laughing. Yeah, this is where the good and bad route do different things.
Oh.
On the bad route, she doesn't appear.
Yeah.
Then you go to a cabin and, well,
Yeah.
things, you see things, and you
Yeah.
have to age restrict the video.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Uh, she never, and she didn't stop laughing. Okay, then. Now I'd really lost touch with the person next to me. Is she the one I met a week ago, or the one I saw for the first time this morning? What do you mean this morning? You woke up at 5 fucking p.m.
Yeah.
When we reached the bus stop, I took up my mobile and checked the time. Surprisingly, there was still some power left. Yeah, if you don't use your phone all week, there should be some power left.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost 11 p.m. Isn't it a bit late for buses?
Oh,
No buses?
Oh, what is that?
What? Oh, he doesn't know what a phone is. Lena asked curiously. Oh, it's just a toy. I would have said it's a portable clock. Take it. It's a gift.
Thank you.
I would have said it's a fucking portable clock because why the let's confuse the entire world. She smiled and took the phone.
What can you play on it?
You'll work it out yourself later. It's not that hard. Anyways, a mobile phone is totally useless here. Are you sure it's useless? You
You sure?
can play Snake.
Yeah.
You can play Snake and possibly Tetris.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely Tetris.
Tetris. We waited for half an hour and Lena just kept talking and talking. Well, I must admit that I found her stories amusing and felt comfortable with her, but what about the bus? So, what about Bing Bong? I didn't finish the sentence as I saw a glimmer of headlights in the distance.
Ah, here it is.
That is like the fucking buses at 6 p.m. where I used to live. A bus every fucking hour.
Wow.
Or Sundays. Sundays, buses every hour where I used to live.
Jesus.
Lena exclaimed enthusiastically. The bus was slowly carrying us from Southern Yuck Pioneer Camp. I just wanted to believe that we'd never ever go back. The darkness beyond the window prevented us from seeing the old road, the wood or fields. Actually, might be the case that they're all long gone, and we're flying through the void towards the unknown. Anyway, I couldn't care less for the surroundings. I just kept listening to Lena. Perhaps she said more words today than she had throughout her past life. You know, I interrupted her at last. I still don't understand.
What exactly?
She smiled. How you come to be so hesitant, so humble at first, unable to string two words together, and then like this.
Is it that important?
Yes, for me it is.
Well,
She took a deep breath before answering.
you see, I've always been the way you saw me the first time we met. I was like that in public. I wasn't able to live as I wanted to since childhood, so I put on a mask.
She went silent.
Although, let's not go too deep into that.
Lena laughed and cuddled my arm, pressing her body tightly against me. Okay, I get it. It was probably very hard for her to discuss it indeed. Anyway, I got a lot even from such short explanation. But still, I can I be sure you won't turn into that one again? You won't retreat into your shell, won't surrender to anger and rage?
That depends on you.
Lena smiled slyly. Ah, yes. It was just now that I realized that I'm playing a high-stakes game. Yes.
Yes, you are.
Someone with completely destroyed emotions.
Yes.
On one hand, I spent a whole week in this obscure world trying to find some answers. I have nothing to my name, and nowhere to return to. Oh, God. Damn it. Oh. On the other hand, there's this girl who obviously matters so much to me. I almost didn't need to think about whether I had any feelings for Lena. I just wanted to be by her side, look at her, listen to her voice. I liked her the way she was. I assured myself this is it. The real Lena is in front of me. And now, when these thoughts came back about my past life, my mysterious appearance in the 80s pioneer camp, it's just not time for such thoughts. It feels so good right now, being close to her. I don't want to return anywhere. I don't want any answers. I don't want to think about what's going to happen tomorrow. It's up to me then. I just want to believe you'll always be the way you are now. For this is the way I love you.
Then I'll keep being this way as long as we're together.
She hugged me even tighter. I don't know how long we'd been on the road, but Lena's chatter gradually started to quiet down. She put her head on my shoulder, but was still telling me a story about her cat getting into the sleeping medicine, getting dizzy and wreaking havoc. Oh, Lord.
Damn.
How the fuck does cat get into sleeping meds? All the made so children can't open them.
Claws, dude. Claws.
No, claws shouldn't be able to open fucking sleeping meds.
Maybe someone was a little careless.
Oh, yeah, someone could have just left the meds open,
Yeah.
which is bad for children and
Oh, yeah.
animals. I slowly started to doze off myself. Stop bringing shit up, my guy.
No. Yeah, no.
But still, why did you hit Alyssa? Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. She looked at me closely with a serious expression on her face.
I always hated that bitch.
Ho! Lena laughed loudly and nuzzled into my shoulder. I'd be happy with that answer.
Yeah, same here.
I desperately tried not to fall asleep. It's unknown what's awaiting there after the bus's next turn. How can you fall asleep on a fucking bus? I desperately what's I term? It might be my new life waiting for me, or it might be the end of this fairy tale, and I'll be buried in a coffin of peeling walls and ceiling of my old apartment. But it was a losing battle. Morpheus has summoned legions of monsters under command of fatigue, exhaustion, desolation, and uncertainty. I had no chance to win a battle against these four horsemen of the apocalypse as I drifted off to sleep. Oh, we're getting close to the end.
Wake up!
Huh? Consciousness slowly returned to me. It's like I'm falling from a cliff so high the clouds are drifting nearby. The ground is coming closer, but I'm afraid I'll die. My fall slows down and my body smoothly immersed into the warm ether. I open my eyes.
You'll sleep through your whole life like that.
Lena looked at me seriously. Huh? What? We're there already?
Where's there?
I looked around. A bench, the square, getting there. But how? I was on the bus, going to the district centre.
Why are you looking at me as if you've seen a ghost?
But why am I still here? For a second, I felt terrible fear. Will I never get out of this place? We were on the bus together.
On the bus?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. Don't you remember? Lena started thinking.
Yesterday. I don't remember anything like that. Maybe had you just had a bad dream.
Considering all that has happened already, seems like a hallucination. This must be a dream within a dream, then. Well, let's take it slowly. I tried to think logically. The session ended yesterday. All pioneers left, but we stayed. And then we took the bus headed to district centre. Lena surely looked perplexed.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding anyone.
Today is the last day.
Wait. Huh? I'm. What the fuck is going on? Wait, so how much time have I spent here? Lena started to count on her fingers.
Looks like 7 days.
Not 8.
It's 7. Definitely 7.
So that last day was nothing. What?
Apparently.
What the fuck is going on here? I gave an exhausted sigh and covered my face with my hands. Well, that's another riddle in the long list of this camp's mysteries. Well, okay. Though I have a feeling that we won't manage to leave today either.
Why?
Sixth sense.
You're acting a bit strange today.
I suppose I have my reasons.
Want to tell me?
I gazed at her attentively. I do. Sure, why not? When I had a real chance to break free from this camp, everything failed. So, what do I have to lose now? Now, where do I start?
Start from the beginning.
Yes, of course. Start at the beginning, since that's where it began, so you know where you began by starting at the beginning.
Yes.
Well, I was born, I studied, married. Well, okay, haven't gotten married yet.
You still have time.
Yes, but... Well, in a few words, like, I'm not from this world. From the look she gave me, it was clear she didn't understand me at all. I came here accidentally. Even, I don't know how.
So, what does your world look like?
Lena asked seriously. It's, well... It's virtually the same, but 20 years ahead of your world.
Do you already have spaceflight?
Well, if it comes to that, you have it as well. However, we haven't made any great achievements in that field yet. So this is before the 69 moon landings.
Yeah.
This is before Russia sent animals into space in the 60s. This is before spaceflight was actually properly achieved. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Sounds interesting.
I was unable to tell if Lena was talking to me seriously or was just pretending to do so. I used to live in a completely different place as well, far from the north, judging from the landscape, in a big city.
I've never been to the big cities.
Maybe that's for the best.
Will you show me your house?
It seems like she was taking this conversation as seriously as I was. Well, I'm not even sure if it exists in this world.
Oh, come on.
This man is actually having a fucking proper conversation with her.
Yes.
This is an achievement. Lena pouted. This is an achievement for him. Well, sure I will.
So, how did you get here?
One evening I took a bus, Route 410, and woke up here. I don't even know anything more than that.
The 410 route. That's the one that just stops just outside the camp.
Yes, but my 410 travels in another place. And time.
Are you planning to return?
Lena said it, and I noticed a note of happiness in her voice. I have no idea how to.
And if you knew?
You're asking tough questions.
What's wrong?
Nothing but... You see, I only recently started to adjust to being here. The first 3 hours in this camp was such a shock to me that I don't know.
It's okay. You still have time to think about it.
Time to think. Even if Lena believed me, she considers the whole situation just typical inconvenience and nothing more. Anyways, it's not up to me. Possibly, even if I do want to stay. You see, the one who brought me here can take me back as well.
I believe that any
I believe...
event... were you gonna say something?
I tried reading it!
I believe that any event in a person's life has a reason. Therefore, you are here for some reason.
Maybe.
And if you haven't returned, you must be needed here.
Well, I can't rule that out. Can't rule out that interpretation.
Hey, time to pack your stuff.
The camp leader's voice sounded from afar.
Hear that?
I don't have much to pack.
But I do. So, meet you near the bus.
Would you like me to help?
Thanks, but there's no need.
Lena smiled and ran off towards her cabin. I remained sitting on the bench trying to cope with the shock. My thoughts were still in chaos, one theory replacing another. On one hand, me being unable to get out of this cab isn't odd compared to me finding myself here in the first place, but what now? What am I supposed to do? Is there any chance I can leave camp if I try again? Anyways, what's the point of being nervous? By now I know perfectly well what that absolutely nothing is up to me. Maybe I just have to sit back and enjoy the ride. I couldn't help smiling. Especially now when I have an additional reason not to be in a hurry to leave. And that reason is Lena. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am here for some reason. And In the end, even if I can narrow down the possible explanation of my situation to a reasonable minimum, there would there will still be 1,001. And if I keep exhausting myself analyzing them, I'll just go mad. Maybe it's time I make a choice. Maybe this world is not so bad after all. Especially since for the first time in a long time, I have something to live for. It's still a vague something, but I have it. It exists. And now I have the power not to simply hold it, but to develop it into something bigger. With such thoughts, I stood up and started walking to Olga's cabin in order to pack my humble belongings and leave the Solonyuk pioneer camp forever. One may think it's strange, and that's exactly how it seemed to me. But eventually, we reached a district center. I eventually got tired in the bus, fell asleep. When I woke up, I ran up and down the aisle of the bus, gasping for air. I soon realized this long week is over. At last, I managed to break free from the camp. All the time I spent there seemed to be so much longer than 7 days. And now, everything is over. Soon after, that events moved with frightening speed. No time left for self-analysis or seeking answers. Moreover, from time to time I completely forgot about the camp. Like anyone who found themselves in a completely strange environment, I was completely lost. I had no papers, not even a simple birth certificate, and no skills to earn a living. Professions such as computer specialist, call center operator were not in demand. Lena returned to her normal life. She graduated from school and get ready to enter university. The pioneer camp was in the south of the USSR, just as I'd assumed. Lena lived in a town with a population of about 100,000. It was easy to get there by bus from the district center. There was nothing special about the town. One big factory, 5-story houses, wooden huts on the outskirts, a grocery store that closed at 7 p.m., and a supermarket. A true Eden for a shopaholic, with choices including rubber winter shoes, women's sheepskin coats, and men's musquash hats. Our locked door. Before I would already be trying to run away from a place like this, but now it was made my home. Cases of starvation were rare in the 20th century. Europe, I managed to find a job. I was employed as a turner's assistant in a factory, and was also given a room in a hostel. Over time, this initially difficult and strange job started to bring me a certain satisfaction. Partially, of course, that it came from having the ability to buy food. Time passed, I climbed up the career ladder, becoming the head of a whole shift. My colleagues were amazed at my talent and persistence, so was I. Lena graduated from school, and I spent several nights with a calculator designing diagrams of expense and income. At last, made up my mind to propose to Lena. I don't remember now if it took her a lot of time for her to think, if she suggested we sign a marriage contract, or if she protested because of my lack of dowry. But in a short time, both of us moved to a communal apartment room near the factory. It will cost 2/3 of my salary. Thanks to the free Soviet education, everyone, or maybe thanks to my wife's persistence, eventually I became a part-time student at the local polytechnic university. At first I protested, saying that a fair proletarian had no need to act like the lousy intellectuals, but then I came to the conclusion that a diploma would make my life easier. It wasn't difficult to study, thanks to my knowledge. From my last attempts at receiving a higher education, time passed and the country started to change, of course. I knew it would happen, but still, the changes came out of the blue. You could compare it to being caught in an avalanche in a mountain. You can prepare all you like, but it will still bury you anyway. The factory was privatized and then closed down. Old, cheap cars. Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
You could compare it to being caught in an avalanche in a mountain. You could that moonlighting as a private driver in Kopeka. Kopeka?
Yeah.
Kopeka. Rattle trap I inherited from my father-in-law was not really a profitable business. I was even ready to apply for a camp leader position in Sauvignon when Lena's distant relative died and left us a one-room apartment somewhere in central Russia. After family council, we decided to move and greeted by early 90s in a cramped kitchen in
Khrushchevka.
Khrushchevka, watching Swan Lake. Thanks to random side jobs, I saved up money and we decided to move to a bigger city. And of course, I chose my birthplace. We decided to sell the flat and use the money to invest in business. For some time, we lived in luxury, buying mink fur coats and expensive foreign cars, dining in restaurants, taking trips to the other countries. Like many others during that time, I had looked to somehow make it big, starting from the bottom. My business was construction, material retail. It was profitable market at the time because people made excessive money that they wanted to invest in luxurious homes. Maybe such life could have gone on, but then the 90s were called rakish. For a reason, after encountering rackets and corruption, I was left with my empty refrigerator and an empty wallet, and a bitter taste of blood in my mouth. That was the time I tried to recall my man from the future status. Betting places that were impossible by Soviet era popped up all over and I rushed to gamble on everything I knew. However, I faced new disappointments, as matches were won by completely different teams. Even the 1984 World Cup champion wasn't Brazil. 1994. When I was just watching football on TV, everything went as it should, but whenever I spent the last of my money to make a bet, even underdogs began phenomenally beating favourites. As well as that, I tried to pursue a career as a political advisor. However, you don't get accepted into a high position like that without special connections or anything that would make you people interested. I don't know how long I would have gone through this torment if not for an event which changed everything. Me and Lena had a child. In a hurry, I started to search for any possible way to earn enough to provide for my family. I remembered some of my father's old friends, and through them, by pretending to be a distant relative of myself, I gained a place as a junior data analyst in a bank. At the same time, I made a new attempt to obtain a degree, or to be precise, finish it. Time passed slowly. The money was just enough to fill our stomachs, I always remember. Lived at work for a few days, trying to find some time for exams. Lena stayed at home with the baby, and that was when I started writing. I remember it as if it was yesterday. It was just after midnight, and I was sitting in the kitchen in the old, worn-out, front of my old, worn-out I-386, wildly killing monsters in Doom 2. Good game.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to sleep badly, but computer games at least slightly distracted me from the infinite dull days. When I completed another level, I was suddenly immersed in my thoughts about everything I had gone through during the last few years. It was all too much for one person. That's when I decided to write everything down that happened to me. I launched the word processor and wrote down a few hundred words with a clear intent of continuing it tomorrow. However, I didn't remember tomorrow, nor a week. About a month later, Lena, who was typing something on the computer, reminded me of my unfinished book. I reread it and deleted it, terrified. At the moment, I started to doubt if I could ever do it after all. It was an entirely epic novel, and I wasn't able to string two sentences together. In addition, it's not easy to write about yourself. Creative work put on the back burner for now. I celebrated the arrival of 2000 as a certified specialist with the Department of Head Duties. While moving to another apartment, I found my old I-386 among the trash. It was to be thrown away, and I remembered my intention of writing a book about my life. I laughed how stupid, however. After some time, I opened my laptop and made a sort of draft of a short story about a young man without a definite occupation or aspirations who finds himself in a different planet. The style, orthography, and punctuation, as well as the idea itself, were matched well to such a silly plot. I showed the story to my wife. She laughed, but said it was well written and advised me to continue. About a year later, the drawer designated for holding my literary works as full. I found it very odd because I was spending entire days at work, sometimes even during holidays, and I tried to spend all my available free time with my family. However, that's what happened. Around that time, I decided to publish my short stories. As with the other beginner work, most of mine were rejected, but a couple of them were accepted, including my first work. I was over the moon, of course. I was paid nothing, but my works will be read. That someone will find them interesting. Time passed. We had a second baby now. During my spare time, I slowly wrote a novel. No, not about my life, or about the pioneer camp. I decided not to touch upon those themes ever again. Everything that happened years ago seemed to be the will of God, whose charity should not be tempted. Who can tell what would have happened if I hadn't woken up in a bus stop near Sauvignat camp gates? Oh. A year later, the novel was completed. After I'd annoyed almost all known publishers, I managed to reach an agreement with a small company. The editor, an elderly man wearing a ragged tweed jacket and thick spectacles, which almost rubbed against his magnificent grey moustache, told me. Your level is average, young man. Average, yes. But the idea itself is interesting. Interesting, yes. Well, you need more practice and more reading, yes. I remembered these words for the rest of my life. I dispensed the copies that were sent to me as part of my royalty agreement. Amongst my friends and colleagues, Lena, who read my novel only after it was published, told me that she really liked it, mostly out of a desire not to upset me, I guess. Time passed. The calendar days were unstoppably approaching that day. Ah! When I pulled out of my usual world and thrown into this life, starting from the mysterious pioneer camp, and now ending up here. Now I am a successful writer, at least according to the number of copies my books have sold. I have a wonderful wife and 2 children. My life has turned 180 degrees. Midnight tonight is the start of something new. Tomorrow is the day I was awaiting for so many years.
What are you thinking about?
I opened my eyes and saw Lena. She put a cup of tea on the table near an armchair. Firewood was gentle, cracking in the fireplace, and a snowstorm was roaring outside. I wrapped myself up in a plaid blanket and looked at Lena. Do you know what day it is?
No. What day?
Do you remember what I told you back there in the camp?
No.
No wonder during all these years I'd never brought up the topic of my mysterious arrival in this world. Do you remember how I told you I'm not from this world? Lena paused.
Well, something like that. Yes.
So today is the day when many years ago I got on the 410 bus and woke up at that pioneer camp.
So, it's an anniversary?
Lena smiled. Yes, sort of.
Is it a sad celebration for you?
No, not at all.
And I remember almost nothing about that time.
Maybe that's for the best. I added some firewood to the fire and took the mug from the table. Maybe I'll write a novel. You'll read it and remember.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Lena's expression became serious. Indeed, once I promised myself that I would never write about it. Maybe it's not. After all, everything that happened is just for us.
That's exactly what I think.
I sighed and looked at the fire. You know, life is like a candle. Someone's got a short one, someone's got a long one, and it can burn out at any moment.
Then our life is like this fireplace.
Yes, perhaps. I looked at her and smiled. I'll sleep for a while longer. Lena kissed me and fixed her gaze on the fire in a dreamy manner. My eyes closed and my whole reality compressed itself down to the crackling of firewood. I started falling slowly somewhere far away. No, it was not a dream, more like a warm ether, gently enveloping my entire existence. Even every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, a prologue, and an epilogue. And there is no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details you didn't notice before. Every story has its beginning and its end. Almost every. That ending is different to the one I remember.
Wow.
Oh.
We did it. And I think this is like the shortest recording we've had for this game.
No, the shortest one was an hour 20.
Right.
So yeah,
Second
if
shortest
we have to beat an hour 20 for the shortest recording.
for this game.
Yep. Our shortest recordings have been the 15-minute ones that we've meshed together for your channel.
That seduced me though.
Yep. Oh.
We did it.
Yep.
We absolutely
Although
did it.
we may have a bit of an epilogue for this fucking thing.
Shouldn't be that bad.
We may have a bit of an epilogue for this one. Because I remember a different fucking thing at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go through some of the older videos and see if that's how Lena Goodend actually ends on the older ones.
Oh. Guess not.
Okay, that's the recording done.